Tom Segura is losing the fan base that made him what he is today. The most recent incident that's causing his fans to lash out derives from a rant on X. It all started when Tom made a post and tagged American Airlines. He said, "Dumb see you next Tuesday from American Airlines made me gate check my bag, so she feels the little power she has left in her life. I get it, you win this round, see you next Tuesday." Obviously, when you post something like this, you should set your phone down and ignore the most certain backlash that is to come. One comment read, "You sound pretty ego-driven and entitled. You've been losing touch lately with your fan base. Can't even relate with what you say anymore. That's what making too much money does to people, I guess." Tom responded by saying, "Oh, wow, thanks for your cool insight. I'd sure hate to lose touch with dumb who can't relate to a bag check at the airport." Another person wrote, "It's calling a service worker a C-word for doing her job. Like you think she had options? She's just singularly in charge of checking bags? It's the callousness to humanity that bothers people." Tom replied, "Poor." Then went on to say, "All the poors and losers have the same response. Oh, you were inconvenienced, well you should accept it. That's what me and my dumb poor family have done for generations. This is why you are poor." And the lowest level poors get upset, as they've been trained to do, when you point out they're happy to do what I'm told, servant mentality. They don't value time because their time is worthless. You are specks on a washcloth, and washcloths belong in the trash. This isn't the first time that Tom has used washcloths as an example of what poors do.
I agree. I think the washcloth is a poor person thing. Because
I've only met poors who use them. I've ended friendships when I saw washcloths. I'm serious. I don't want that stink on me, you know,
Yeah.
that like poor
So there's the joke part
Politics,
of it.
Now
you know.
here's the serious part of it.
Stupid idiots.
Washcloths are for poor people.
None of this would have blown up like it did if Tom didn't continue to stoke the fire. He continued his rant on Twitter by saying, "Some people get mad when people vent online at their airline frustrations, but honestly, it's a healthy outlet. Think of the alternatives. Writing is probably the best option. You get the emotions out, get some validation, and can fantasize that the old 'see you next Tuesday' sees what you wrote." The airline to reply to Tom's post by saying, "We know you're no rookie, Tom, and you know how to pack a bag. We're sorry for the hassle today." You would think that this would quell the situation, as this is more than anyone who isn't famous would get. But instead, he doubles down again, responding to the post saying, "This is a psychological tactic that well-trained people across all businesses use because it's effective. They empathize with the customer's emotion. Typically, people feel seen and immediately calm down after the acknowledgement. I still wish awful things on this gate agent." While I think most of us can relate to this, it seems pretty ego-driven. Like, he is rich and famous, so why should he have to put up with some poor gate agent hassling him? Honestly, I think that Tom was just trying to be funny and use X as an outlet to vent his frustrations. It doesn't come off as well as it would have if he said it all on his podcast. Because on his podcast, you can tell when he's being ornery. Most of the things he says on YMH would not go over well on X. I think it's actually a combination of his actual frustrations with life, mixed in with his comedy style, which is brash and unapologetic. It's like when you mouth a friend over a text and you're just joking, but it turns into a whole thing, all because text doesn't translate, especially when you're being sarcastic. It was less than a year ago, Tom had this rant about some of his fans that would comment on how they don't like to listen to him talk about expensive toys.
We talk about like a watch or a car. I'll get us like a bunch of messages from losers that try to tell me that I'm making them feel bad about their situation. You're in control of your own situation and your own feelings. So don't put it on me that you feel bad that I have something that, oh, but I'm struggling with rent this month. Figure it the fuck out, okay? Like, don't make my life be a problem for your life. If you don't like it, guess what? You're not going to be able to control what people talk about. People are going to talk about things that you don't have for the rest of your fucking life. So you can decide like, okay, I won't, fine, don't listen to me, don't listen to that person anymore, but you have to control your own feelings, okay? It's not on other people to make sure they don't talk about a topic that makes you feel bad, all right? Like, I lost 20 grand gambling this weekend. Go ahead.
He acts like he did all of this on his own, and in reality, he did, but he, like most of the top comedians today, wouldn't be where they are without Joe Rogan. He was one of the first guests on the Joe Rogan Experience, with numerous appearances since. I made a video about the JRE podcast featuring Tom that have been removed by Spotify. If you want to know why they are not allowed on Spotify, watch this video I made a while back. With all of this recent bashing of the poors, as Tom calls them, it seems like he's peaked. I'm sure it all seems like he has too many fans to fail, and he is probably right, but the people he is calling out are the blue-collar fans that I assume make up the majority of his base.
Hashtag Tom Segura basement dwellers. So now his thing is just to lump the fan base as they live in the basement. which
Right.
is like, again, it's like such a hack.
It's hacky. And not only
Position.
that, at your mom's house, we've always celebrated basement dwellers.
Yeah,
That's
look
what these walls are.
Look at these paintings, man.
These
Where do
are
you think these
cool-
guys live? They live in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you're not insulting our fan base. We fucking love basement dwellers,
Yeah.
dipshit.
His post on X come off like the lady who made him check his bag should know who he is. Like he's rich and famous and he's on Netflix. So that person who is just doing their job should understand this and make a special accommodation for him. This happens to people every day. Why is he so special that he needs to call a woman who is just doing her job the most vile thing you can call a woman? I think he is wanting her to get fired because why else would he say something like that? Because if he wasn't, he shouldn't have made the initial post and just let it go. Instead, he decided to comment fight with people who didn't like the initial post. Allowed American Airlines to respond, which is hard to do, especially when you call one of their employees a derogatory name, when again, she was just doing her job. One of his best friends is Joe Rogan, and Joe is well known for telling his friends not to respond to comments.
Don't read comments, and I don't check likes, and I
Right.
don't check. I have a very strict policy, and it's made me very happy.
Which is really great advice because if he would have just sent the original post, we all would have related with him. Yeah, airlines suck, they really do. We can all agree, but what we can agree with is fighting with NPCs online. He really should have never responded because it got to the point where he posted, "The lowest level of poors get upset as they've been trained to do when you point out they're happy to do what I'm told, servant mentality." This is a direct contradiction saying poors get upset, he's the one that is upset, and him saying it's servant mentality when I'm sure he did exactly as he was told, because that's what you have to do. It doesn't even make sense, yet he still feels like he can say that and then call his fans specks of filth on a washcloth. Also, posting to X is a waste of time unless you are using it to promote yourself. This is the exact opposite of promoting yourself in the right way. If anything, he is losing fans, so it seems like his time is just as worthless as our time. In what should have been considered a minor hiccup in his day, Tom used the scenario to make himself look like a tool. It is interesting to know that money won't make you happy. If anything, Tom has grown more arrogant and more out of touch than ever before. I may be poor, but at least I'm not a hateful poor.